Welcome to Fans Interference. Chip Kelly fired edition. This is emergency presser. I'm Spencer G.
And I'm Bruce of Sports Doc. And things are buzzing. Twitter's blowing up. We're right here in Philadelphia, right here at the epicenter. And we're here to cover all things live with the Chip Kelly firing. We want everybody to log on. This is a Google Hangout. This is for the fans, by the fans, and to the fans. And it is a momentous day in Philly. Most of us are popping champagne.
And this was shocking news. I was at the gym working out, and suddenly, you know how you're at the gym and you have televisions above, and it says Chip Kelly was fired. And I was completely flabbergasted. I was shocked. I thought Chip Kelly would be here another season at least. He still has 2 more years on his contract. I was just stunned that Jeffrey Lurie made this decision today.
Well, let's analyze the decision. We've been getting a lot of word from NovaCare, and this is what I hear. This is up to the moment. Jeff Lurie met with Chip Kelly today, and apparently the meeting didn't go well. My own surmising, if that is a word, is that basically Chip was told that he would be losing the GM position. Jeff Lurie was really upset, and I think Chip basically used the old letters. He put the F and the U together. And I don't think that he expected Jeff Lurie would have the stones to make the move. But you know what? To his credit, this is a departure from every way that Jeff Lurie has handled himself for 22 years. He's never fired a coach midstream. He hung on to Andy Reid 4 years past the time. He hung on to Ray Rhodes. He remembered the lame duck year, 3-13 with Ray Rhodes. And he used all that. And most importantly, he had input from Howie Roseman, who is the arch enemy of Chip Kelly. And not only was Chip Kelly thrown out, but Ed, how do you say his last name?
Maknowitz.
Ed Maknowitz was also shown the door. So the Chip Kelly regime is gone. And what do we have in return? We have the ultimate lame duck coach, Pat Shurmur, who will be soldiering the team through the death march to the Meadowlands. And that's what's going on right now. I say 95% of the buzz here in Philly is positive. It is Mardi Gras. And basically, this is very akin to Marie Antoinette being beheaded. And I mean that in a nice way. The fact is, we knew this team was heading in a downward direction. All we've been doing is pointing out how terrible the team is, how Chip Kelly purged us of all of our stars. And the question will only be, will the new coach monitor 10-hour sleep cycles, smoothies? I, for one, say no.
When you look at the new coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it needs to be a coach that basically follows the structure of the NFL, a guy that has been experienced, a guy that has been within the ropes of the NFL and will yield the GM ownership to either Howie Roseman or another product. Because Chip Kelly, he basically took a swing, he took a risk, and he missed and fell flat on his face. And if the Eagles got Marcus Mariota, I firmly believe that Chip Kelly would be here another 4 seasons because Jeffrey Lurie, Chip Kelly would say to Jeffrey Lurie that he needs time to groom his young quarterback prospect. So technically, for all the fans that are happy that Chip Kelly is gone, the Marcus Mariota trade, it was meant to be that he would not be a Philadelphia Eagle and that he would be a Tennessee Titan, because Jeffrey Lurie, when he was analyzing this decision, he must have saw that there are no potential pieces that Chip Kelly could really groove here in Philadelphia.
We've just reached out to one of the luminaries in the state of Tennessee, Nashville himself. We're talking about Clay Travis from OutKickYourCoverage.com.
Coverage, yes.
And in any event, we're hoping to reach Clay. He might be winging. We know that he has a gig in L.A. for Fox. He might be in the air. But if Clay is around and he could hear us, we want his take because he is a huge Titans fan.
Yeah.
He believed that Marcus Mariota is going to be, for the next 10 to 15 years, he's going to win multiple Super Bowls for the Titans. And this is a dream matchup reuniting Chip Kelly with Marcus Mariota. And the rumors are already flying. The Chip is already gassing the plate up, and that this signing will be soon. In my prediction, this will be a 5-year deal. and it's going to be a match consummated. Chip Kelly, number one, hates the Philly media with the passion. He's not used to it. He's never been anywhere. He was in New Hampshire. He was in Oregon. He got mauled by the Philly media. He got mauled by the fans. To say that he doesn't listen to the media is wrong. So Chip Kelly can't get out of here fast enough, and he's going to Tennessee, and guess what they're going to do? I'm sure they're going to be picking up his contract, and Jeff Lurie is going to be happy. Well, we immediately need to flash it. Number one, it's Tom Donahue.
Tom Donahue.
Tom Donahue is the new GM. Now let's talk about him for a moment.
Mhm.
He was with the Steelers for a long time, helped architect some of the Steelers championships, a Pittsburgh guy, a no-nonsense guy. Essentially the football equivalent of Jerry Colangelo. He's coming to Philly to captain this. He won't be a general manager. He'll be in charge of player personnel. Also, Howie Roseman will be arising like a phoenix from the ashes. And essentially we have the president, whose name is Smolinski, Lurie, and Roseman are going to be captaining the search for the new head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And Tom, you're calling it Donahue. I think it's Donahue, but it doesn't matter.
It's not Tim Donahue.
He's some Irishman from Pittsburgh.
He's 70 years old. He's had a ton of experience with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I believe he was in New York before coming to Philadelphia.
He also was at Buffalo. Certainly we have Gary Kaminsky is hopefully listening to us. He's our fan from Buffalo. He is not a Tom Donahue guy because he believes that he captained the hiring of Chin Gailey and also captained some mediocre Buffalo Bills team. So if Gary can log on, we want to get his view. And then the next obvious question is who we're going to do. So we're going to flash here. We're flashing from topic to topic. There's too much to cover. We're not getting deep into anything.
There is.
Question is, who's going to be the new coach of the Eagles? Top three choices. Go ahead. Who are your top three and why? Quickly, 30 seconds.
I think you got to get a defensive coordinator. I look at Hugh Jackson of Oakland. He's had of Cincinnati. He's had a very successful season under Andy Dalton. I would definitely phone him. He only had one tough year in Oakland when he had to take over from Tom Cable. Jeff McDaniels, another popular name. Josh McDaniels. That was an offensive coordinator with Tebow and New England. And then you have Matt Patricia, a guy that you mentioned in New England, a defensive mind that can adapt very quickly on the fly. There's some home run hire names like Sean Payton. I don't think he's going to get fired. John Harbaugh's a name that you're mentioning in Baltimore. I don't think there's any chance.
I asked you to come up with three, not to comment on my picks, please.
I came up with three.
Fine, and now I'll go ahead. My number one will be Sean Payton. Again, Drew Brees came out. There's a reason he just came out tonight and just tweeted that he's absolutely convinced that both he and Sean Payton will be reunited in New Orleans next year. Why is that? Because of the Sean Payton buzz. Number two, my guy's John Harbaugh. Both of these guys were coordinators for Andy Reid. Ironically, John Harbaugh was a special teams coach for Andy Reid, a Philadelphia guy, well-loved. He's very comfortable here, comfortable with the media. I think his temperament and personality would be perfect, and he'd have a new start, and he'd have basically a clear slate. So, and the number three is Matt Patricia. I think he is most likely. I've not heard anybody mention him. Why is that? Jeff Lurie is a Patriots guy. The idea of having a Bill Belichick disciple right here in Philly is so attractive. Matt Patricia, he has, with basically a patchwork revolving door of defensive players, Matt Patricia has been solid. I'd love to see him as a head coach.
How about Steve Spagnuolo of the New York Giants? I know he struggled a lot this season, but he's a guy that's been a successful defensive coordinator in the NFL for a number of years.
I think it's an interesting pick. The point is Spagnuolo, I think, is very happy in New York. He's very happy. He's happy for the start that Marin Tisch gave him again. They took him off the scrap heap. Tom Coughlin put him into a position, and I think he's very happy. When somebody's happy and comfortable, I think he's also a grateful, very loyal guy. Spagnuolo is, though, a Philly guy. He was also a coordinator. There's so many guys. There's a guy named John Gruden, so many years ago, was a quarterback coach. Now, he's really comfortable in his job at ESPN, a wonderful job. He can't get fired from that job. So, yeah, I'd like to see him.
And Cowher.
And Bill Cowher hasn't been in the league so long. Obviously, if you're going to talk Cowher, you can talk about the most revered coach in Philadelphia Eagles history, who is
Edwards Herman.
Dick Vermeil.
Yeah,
Dick Vermeil. And again, you're talking about
I don't
guys.
think that that's possible. A coach has left a team and then has come back 20 years later. That would be a heck of a story. But here's a couple of wild card names, and these are guys that are.
Let's just go
names.
back and forth.
Yeah,
quick.
Let's just do it. And then I want to get to my thoughts on Chip Kelly, because I believe
Briefly.
if Chip Kelly kept Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy, if he kept Vic another year, and actually had a mobile quarterback like Tyrod Taylor to run this offense, I think he can coach offensive football. Now, I think Billy Davis has been a failure at every stop he's been at. I think Chip's arrogance is the reason that he was fired. And I do believe that Chip Kelly is a smart offensive coordinator, as shown by his first 2 seasons in this league with decent personnel, Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun, and LaShawn. I think as a GM, he was worse. He's one of the worst GMs in NFL history. But as a head coach, I think Chip Kelly still has potential to be a good NFL coach in this league.
My opinions are no, and I'll explain why. Number one, Chip Kelly is not going to change. He's going to bring his arrogant offense. He's going to do the exact same thing. He's going to use the cards. He's not going to allow Mariota audible. He's going to put him in the little compartment. Number two, he won't take a job where he's not going to be GM. I believe that's a sticking point. I believe that's why he was fired today, because he had a blow up with Lurie. He's a temperamental guy, and I think they both unloaded on each other. I can't prove it. So as a GM, he can't draft. He will only put yes men around him. Pat Shurmur's a really nice guy, a great guy. We spent a couple hours interviewing him. I like him a lot. Unfortunately, he settled with a losing record in Cleveland, as well as being part of the flamed-out regime. He's essentially the smoldering ruins of Chip Kelly. He will be captaining the one-day lame duck head coaching ship, and then we'll be out the door. But so we can look at it. Billy Davis, horrific. So Chip doesn't coach defense. He's going to need a bona fide defensive coordinator. That means somebody with a big personality. Chip will not, in my opinion, will not defer any of the power to anybody. He likes ruling it like Joseph Stalin. And it's a tight-knit group. And right now you can just start hearing some of the Eagles being interviewed, and they're being very delicate. A lot of them say they're shocked. Some, not surprised. And they talked about, certainly, I was listening to Eric Rowe tonight. I was listening to Matthews, the wide receiver. But there is a hint. Lane Johnson, I think, was the most honest, as he always is. He said that he just couldn't believe all the moves in the offseason when all the guys left. He was shocked and bewildered. But Lane is that way. He won't speak his mind.
He's honest. And so the personality of Chip Kelly is really the main reason why he got fired, because offensively, the guy can coach X's and O's. He was limited by Sam Bradford, by Josh Huff, by the receivers that were placed.
Excuse me. He selected Sam Bradford. He traded away Foles. He traded a second-round draft pick for Bradford.
I don't think he wanted Bradford in the end.
The worst trade. Yeah, I believe he got Bradford as a chip to get Mariota.
Exactly.
Everybody believes that.
Exactly, so he was stuck. As a GM, he failed.
And the worst trade is our leading rusher of all time, McCoy, was very misunderstood. When LaShawn kissed the Eagles emblem, he did it out of love. And by the way, when Jeffrey Lurie went and hugged LaShawn during the game, you know how that made Chip Kelly feel? Not very good. The fact is, why is McCoy so angry? Why did he throw his helmet? Number one, he never wanted to leave. He's a Philadelphia guy. He still flies into Buffalo. He's still friends with a lot of people we know. And anybody who knows him, he loves Philly. He's a Harrisburg guy. And guess what? We traded him for Kiko Alonso, who's physically and mentally destroyed. There's nothing left. Plus, we didn't get any draft picks for him. So a terrible trader.
Second round to St. Louis.
No, but we got nothing. We should have gotten a draft pick for Kiko and a draft pick. We didn't. So right now we're without a draft pick. We've got Sam Bradford. I'm predicting he will be unloaded, will not be re-signed. And the next issue, which we're going to ask to our people who's going to be the next Eagles quarterback? So this is a really exciting time to be on Fans Interference.
It's a great time.
Who's going to be the next head coach? Who's going to be the next quarterback? And why did Chip's head roll?
Point. Nick Foles was something in Philadelphia. 27 touchdowns to 2 picks. He was 6-2 as an Eagles starter in year 2. He went to St. Louis. He got beat out by Case Keenum. Chip Kelly can coach offensive players. That's the bottom line. He did it at Oregon. He's a horrible general manager. If he goes to Tennessee, they shouldn't trust Chip Kelly at all, but Tennessee's desperate. They're never on TV. They're so irrelevant. They've been losing pretty much forever, so that's where he's going to go next. For the Philadelphia Eagles, I think you need a veteran coach, a defensive mind that plays tough, conventional football like Mark D'Antonio and Michigan State-style football. Smash mouth, running the football, kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of like the Arkansas Razorbacks. You have DeMarco Murray, and I think you should utilize him next year because LaShawn McCoy did not develop in this offense.
We've got to flash. We got to start flashing, okay? We got to start flashing coaches, a word or two about each one.
Okay.
College coaches. Nick Saban, number 1, an organized guy. The Belichick of the college. Would he leave Alabama? Who knows? Saban will be at the top. Mark D'Antoni.
I have also thought about
coach
Saban.
of Saban.
I don't think he's going to work here in Philadelphia. He could be like another Chip Kelly, such a powerful personality. I mean, he doesn't get along with players terrifically well in Miami. He's a controversial guy. He's a no BS, my way or the highway sort of guy. I don't see Saban mixing in well right after Chip Kelly.
D'Antoni, I think D'Antoni is very much of a very tactful guy, very professional,
I think
well-loved. He'll also manage offensive, defensive coordinators. Would be a wonderful choice.
I think it's
coach
a great
of Stanford.
Choice. He's just from the college.
Coach
David Shaw runs a great, clean program. Always top in the Pac-12 conference, and I think it's a Pac-10. And he's won championships in that conference right after Jim Harbaugh, who left possibly the biggest shadow ever in Palo Alto. So I'm a big fan of David Shaw as well.
Worst coaches. 3 people you don't want to see. People who are realistically on the radar for the Eagles. 3 people who you believe would be detrimental for the franchise. You give your 3, and please don't steal my 3 because we already talked about this before. Go right ahead.
Well, is Schiano on your list, or can I take Schiano?
You may take 3, and then I will
take – Greg Schiano failed at Rutgers, horrible offensive coach. In Tampa Bay, he aggravated everybody there. He pissed everyone off. Greg Schiano would be the number 1 guy that you should not hire. Number 2 is Ken Wisenhunt. Failed at Tennessee.
Very good choice.
I don't think anybody will argue with him. He was atrocious. He had 1 good year with Kurt Warner. Horrendous head coach. And then I look at my last head coach here. I'm trying to think of popular names that you would not like. Well, if Jeff Fisher gets fired, stay away from him.
Definitely Jeff Fisher.
He defines mediocrity.
Jeff Fisher is the king of the 8-8. I just don't know how he still has a job in St. Louis.
I think it's been hit home.
He is a Philly. The one thing about him is he's an Andy Reid guy. He's a Philly guy. You know, he speaks well. He's a tough guy. A terrible coach. Absolutely. I don't want to see Jeff Fisher. I think we can agree with that.
And you know what? Josh McDaniels did bring in Tebow. He's kind of a very – he seems abrasive in his decisions as a head coach, a little bit young. And just because you're related to Bill Belichick doesn't mean you're going to make a good coach. So Josh McDaniels, even though I mentioned him earlier, I'm going to take it back. I don't think McDaniels would fit.
I don't like Hugh Jackson. You mentioned him before. He coached for Oakland, I think primarily defensive specialist. Nothing special, no pedigree. I definitely don't want to see him. Wisenhunt, certainly on my list, is a guy I don't want to see. If Lovie Smith gets fired, I don't know how he lasted so long in Chicago. Totally unimpressed with him. Romeo Crennel, another NFL rehash, a nice guy, a fun guy to have a beer with. I can tell you that personally. Not a guy I want to see as a head coach. Guys we like. We love Tony Dungy. As a GM, there he is. Rambo is on there. Rambo looking good.
Al Zafiri. Let's see if he logs on. We're going to see if we can click on Al Zafiri. He is logging on. Al, work out your signal. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Chip Kelly. And fans, follow the link at the bottom of the page. Click on it with your iPhone or with your Mac computer. Log in via your webcam. We want to hear your thoughts on Chip Kelly being fired. Will it come back to bite the Philadelphia Eagles? That is the question if he goes to Tennessee and has this success. But why did Jeffrey Lurie make this decision now, Bruce? Why the urgency? Why this year? Why right now, today?
Okay, I'm going to give you a list. Number one, I just saw Merle Reese, and I trust him a lot. He's also at 6:10 a.m. He's right before us on our Fans Interference show. He believes the sticking point, the tipping point, was the Lions game. That was an embarrassment. On national TV at Thanksgiving, they got creamed by a terrible team, and they gave up 40 points. And that's when Jeff Lurie started stewing. The New England Patriots game was fool's gold. The offense was no better, complete fool's gold. And I totally believe that they had a meeting today, and I believe Chip Kelly unloaded on Lurie and basically said everything to get out the door. And I believe he immediately clicked on his plane ticket because he wants to punch his ticket to Tennessee. And for him, it was just a matter of Lurie being assured that he would let him out of the $5 million a year. Once that was taken, it was what we call a fait accompli, which means it was over.
Chip Kelly, he's not humble. He's not gracious in admitting his mistakes. And that's honestly the reason why I think that Chip Kelly was fired, because he cannot admit his mistakes. Also, Jason Peters taking himself out of the game as a healthy player. I've never seen that ever. I really have not. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
Admit his mistakes. Jason Peters went out of the game. I think we've won there. I think you can buy the work. Let's bring it in. I've never seen that ever. I really have. Connect here. We have Wes Kaminsky here. It sounds like he's in our house somewhere.
Sounds like Wesley. Are you in the Lincoln Tunnel? Wes. Oh, there you are. Wes, talk to us. Give us your view. What's up, Wes?
Here. It sounds like he's in the house.
Heard that my sound.
Are you in the Lincoln Tunnel? So you have a speakerphone on. All right. Well, Wes Kaminsky is battling. Him and Al Zafiri both.
Our production team is working to these glitches out, but we know we have Al Zafiri and Wes Kaminsky. Everybody's lagging on. We're blowing up here.
Unbelievable time. I can't believe it happened before Black Monday. Coaches don't get fired now. Jeff Lurie just must have been instigated so much in that meeting by Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's personality, even with the media here, he just never admitted his mistakes. He was like Andy Reid 2.0, except he was a harsher, meaner guy to the media. I don't think fans rallied around the guy. He didn't know how to work a room. And with the NFL, he treats players like they're in college. I mean, DeMarco Murray, he's been treated like he's a first-round back out of Oklahoma, like he's a superstar, and then he came to Philadelphia. He's treated like a college player. He's treated like a second-tier guy.
That's true. And if we talked to Raheem Brock, one of our collaborators, and Raheem recalls when Pat Carroll came to his team, and what did they do? He took him out to an amusement park, okay? And everybody, Pete's changed a lot. So Chip Kelly is still monitoring people's sleep cycles. He's getting rid of people because of culture. Jeremy Maclin had a monster year and is having a monster year. Deshaun, they also ran him out of town. They also said that he had gang ties. They really stabbed him in the back. We haven't heard a word about Deshaun. Have you heard a word about anything dealing with gangs since he signed with Washington? No. Not a word. He's a model citizen. Certainly, LaShawn McCoy. They also ran him out of town. They also said that he had gang ties. They really looks like we got our okay, here we go. We got the video call. I heard a word about anything dealing with gangs since he signed with Washington. Not a word. Okay, we have a little delay, Wes. Why don't you give us a 30-second monologue, which is Wes Kaminsky, formerly of Bleacher Report, now, of course, the NBA Players Association. Not a word. Get some light on your Okay, we have are you in the Wes here? Why don't you give us a 30-second monologue? Wes is actually making. All we can see are his eyes and teeth. He looks like he's having fun. Wait a second.
And Joshua, we're going to get to you in a second.
The scary thing is Wes is all about areas. Wes is actually all we can see here is we can see you're coming in now.
Joshua, we're going to get to you in a second. See if we can hit Joshua right now. Josh, how you doing tonight?
Good. What's going on?
What do you think about Chip Kelly being fired?
It's great. It's what was necessary. You can't give him power for another year. He tried, or he did give out $100 million, lost a second-round pick. You can't just allow that man to do that again when he's going to be fighting for his job for one more year. He's going to do everything to benefit them in the short term to save his job, not for the best of the franchise.
Josh, what was the sticking point? What was the tipping point? What do you think prompted Jeff Lurie to make the move tonight so suddenly? What are your thoughts on that?
Right on. Well, I would think it's what everyone was reporting, that they had that meeting today, and I think that on top of the every year doing worse and worse, playoffs to no playoffs to 6-9, to players speaking out about him, I think this was just the final straw.
Josh, if Chip Kelly was not the general manager, you saw how unbelievable they looked in Washington. That first team with Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson, all the speed on that field. Do you think Chip Kelly is a successful offensive coach? And if he wasn't GM, would you still be satisfied with him as head coach?
No, because if you look at all the players that spoke out against him, it wasn't when he in his GM role, it was how he interacts with them and his interactions and his relationships. And I think he also, that has nothing to do with him being GM. That's him as the coach.
Absolutely. Give us your picks. Next coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Give us a pick or two. If Josh was the new GM, who would be your pick? Josh M.
Peyton Manning.
I think I'd go Sean McDermott.
You bring him back.
Bring him back. He's doing quite well with the Carolina Panthers. They certainly they rejuvenated his career. So Sean McDermott's a great one. Wes Kaminsky, are you saying Peyton Manning? Is that that might be a serious answer? Do me a favor. You're on the air. We don't eat on set, buddy. You can show your chest hair.
The girls are excited.
The girls are wetting themselves. Mister, you have to. On set. Please show respect. We have millions of followers now. This is your time.
We are big.
Please.
All right. Good
to
be here.
That's allowable.
Just got back from the Knicks game.
Nothing to brag about. Please read your reading until you're off the call.
Right.
I know you're hungry. I know you have a tapeworm. You have some kind of infectious problem where you have to eat on set. But let's hear your thoughts.
Let's get Wes on Chip Kelly.
Let's go. On Chip, here we go.
So Josh has been a huge Chip Kelly hater for about as long as I can remember, and he's been riding the bandwagon for his demise. So it was definitely good to see him get fired.
Wes is not an Eagles fan anymore, for the record.
I am not really. It's hard to root for them with the combination of him and the fight that my dad got in at the Bills-Eagles game that I instigated. So it's tough,
Absolutely. Certainly, we can talk about the Bills-Eagles.
If he likes Chip Kelly,
who's going to be the next? Seriously, you're on top of things, even though most people can't tell. You're disguising your knowledge by eating your lo mein, which is very impressive. But having said that, who are the top three likely candidates for Eagles head coach?
James Franklin?
I mean, I guess you got to consider Sean Payton if he gets fired from New Orleans.
Agreed.
Okay, so we got Big Al. So Al, you think Andy Reid's making
Wes, hang on the line. We're going to Big Al Safiri. Look at that. Rambo's Delta Radio in the house.
He's in the house, buddy. What do you think? Are you popping the champagne tonight, Big Al?
I'm surprised he had the cojones to pull the trigger on this, to be honest with you. I did not see this coming. I thought we had at least one more year with Chip. It was kind of – I was flabbergasted, to say at least, to see the fact that he got rid of him now, at this second. I thought at least let him go through at the end of the season. I just have a feeling that Jeff Lurie has something up his sleeve already. There's already something in the works. I have a feeling. You don't just get rid of Chip Kelly unless you have something in the works already.
How about this, Al? do you think we were going to make a trade? In other words, is there a trade in place with the Titans to trade Chip Kelly and get something back? Is it possible?
Well, if he was going to do that, would they fire him? I mean,
he's
didn't fire him.
He's released already.
him.
Released him.
This could be happening very quickly. Who do you think the Eagles have their eyes on for the next head coach? Any clue at all? Any inkling?
I have to say, I was saying all along that Sean Payton would be the best bet right now. I know some people are thinking John Gruden, bring him back in. Some people even thought Harbaugh, but he ain't living in Michigan. I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon.
Harbaugh and Kaepernick.
Huh?
Harbaugh and Kaepernick. Bring him to Philly.
Now the question is, they actually did well. Kaepernick, that would be a really cool. But there's no.
You're talking about John Harbaugh.
I was talking John. But the chance of Jim leaving Michigan after he got that monster deal.
But that's the thing is, Baltimore didn't have a great year, and sometimes like Chip Kelly when he left Philadelphia, he made some better routes over in Kansas City, and sometimes a change of scenery is what a coach needs as well as a player. So maybe leave Baltimore. Things haven't been going great with him, and then
Baltimore's entire team got injured.
Exactly, and you look certainly at Flacco. He's been hurt. He's had a tough year. John Harbaugh's a Philly guy. I think he would do very well. Ironically, John Harbaugh would be embraced by the town. Putting Jim Harbaugh in front of the Philly media would be one of the funniest things ever for a press conference. He would make Popovich look like Tiny Tim. I mean, it could get ugly.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, does he have that blue-collar, no-nonsense, no BS type attitude that we all love and that we all have grown to love? I mean, I don't know. Would that fly here? I mean, all the fans already have that attitude. Why not throw a coach in the mix? I mean, I don't think Chip Kelly that was not his attitude problem. His attitude problem is he was condescending, and most people weren't too thrilled with him. Because he had the answer to everything, and obviously he didn't. And like I said, I just don't see Jeff Lurie making this move without there being something up his sleeve.
Do you think for the Eagles it would be advantageous to get a defensive guy or a guy that plays very conventional style football, a guy who runs it first, a physical, tough team? Because the Eagles were so finesse. They were so different with how they used all their bubble screens and all this quick tempo. Would you like an old-school coach in Philadelphia?
I would like an old-school coach to an extent. You need somebody who can think on their feet and make a decision. I mean, one thing we had with Andy Reid, and then I thought we didn't have with Chip Kelly, but we ended up having it, is here's a guy who comes up with a plan who doesn't deviate from the plan no matter how bad it blows up in his face. And that's an issue. You need a guy who's willing to say, no, this didn't work. Let's make some adjustments. And then there was times that we thought he did. Like here he comes in, beats New England, one of the best teams in the NFL, gives everybody this fool's gold, makes us all feel special. They come in, they play the Bills well enough. And then, it's just like Thanksgiving all over again 3 weeks in a row.
Matt Rule from Temple.
Hey, that's cool. But Matt Rule just got – I think he just signed. They just gave him some money, so I don't think that's going to be likely.
So let's go to Joshua M. here. Josh, when did you really see that the Eagles franchise was in turmoil? Were you worried about them heading into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I've been anti-Chip since he came here. I thought he was destroying the team. The Packers, 50 of their 53 players on the Super Bowl team were drafted by them. They weren't free agent pickups, and, what everything Chip was doing.
And Josh, would you like an old school coach to come into Philadelphia? Is there anybody who you have your eyes on, whether they're in television or anywhere? Do you have a particular list?
Not necessarily. I think it's most important to get a GM in here first, a football guy, and get that established before you go on the coaching search.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. We've all talked about Sean Payton. Somebody else's head might not be on the chopping. It might be not around on the chopping block in New Orleans with Drew Brees. Has anybody thought about maybe having Sean Payton and Drew Brees coming up to Philadelphia?
I personally wouldn't. Drew Brees is past his prime.
I agree.
I mean, I just don't think anybody's talking about that. I don't see that happening.
I think it would be a good option now because you look at Sam Bradford. I mean, we can all admit watching that game that he has no big play potential. And you look at Drew Brees, you can rent Drew Brees for a good 3 to 4 years. Then you could tank and get your Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning and get your number one quarterback prospect out of college. Who wouldn't want to rent?
As you all know, for a long time, I wasn't, I was shocked when Sam Bradford came in.
We've got a 7 a.m. flight. Thanks for participating, and we'll catch you on the back end.
That could be Perry List, but
See you guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
so much, man. I really appreciate it. You were great. Now it's just us and Rambo. But so Al, you love the Drew Brees idea. Drew Brees to Phil.
I'm not against it. Like kind of like you were saying, you have Sam Bradford who's injured and could be on his way out as the next person in some ways. But I'm a little apprehensive to get rid of Sam Bradford was it his fault? Was it his fault he didn't have any big play potential? I mean, he had one of the worst O-lines in football in front of him. And I don't care who you are, if Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, any of those guys couldn't put up a big play because you had no time to throw the ball at all.
Let me react to that for a moment.
And then I will.
Let me react. I actually agree with you. At the beginning of the year, certainly the first half of the season, there was nobody who was more anti-Sam Bradford than me. I questioned whether he could throw the ball 10 yards. In the last few games, he showed a lot of heart. He's shown leadership. It's not his fault. My only concern would be signing him up to a long-term, very high contract deal a la Ryan Howard. I wouldn't be for that.
How about franchise tagging him?
I would sign him. This is why I'm going to answer exactly what I would do. I'd sign him to a 2-year deal, $15 million a year. That's a slight bit under starters' money, less than franchising, which would be $22 million. I'd be comfortable with that, and I'd look to bring in some guy to come in and work behind him. I'd like to see him jettison Sanchez. He was absolutely horrible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not worth $5 million a year.
Horrible. I'd less say I would bring Tebow back as a third-string quarterback before I would bring him back. What are your thoughts about Bradford?
I'm opposite on Sam Bradford. I watched that game versus Washington, and all throughout the season, he missed open guys. The guy is the least scary quarterback that teams could ever face because he doesn't test teams down the field throwing the rock. And you look at Sam Bradford, and he's a guy that defenses love to face because he's a dink and dump guy. He only throws it 5 yards at a clip. I'd bring in a Mike Lennon, and you mentioned all the other elite guys like Rodgers and Brady and Cam Newton. Those guys take shots. They put pressure on the defense. Sam Bradford has a noodle arm, way too conservative, does not scare anybody. Even Nick Foles was wildly more successful than Bradford. You have no big play potential. He's a bust, okay?
All right, let's run this scenario for you. So we all know he did. If there was a deal, maybe not. Howard Eskin said at one point that the Eagles offered him like a 4-year deal, and apparently that wasn't true according to both sides. But we believe as much as we know. So say he goes shopping, and there's take Houston, for instance, who's in need of a quarterback, who I believe, if I'm Sam Bradford, I would rather be in Houston, and I would rather probably be in their system than in Philadelphia, personally, as I think about it. Because the pressure, in Philly is a lot higher than pretty much anywhere else outside of maybe New York. So he goes off to Houston, and then where does that leave us? Who do we have left really to choose from? And then it comes back to your Drew Brees. There's nobody really in the draft class that's sticking out to me. And then you have your RG3s who I want nothing to do with. I don't even want him holding the balls and keeping them warm for the other quarterbacks. He's too skinny. He reminds me too much of Donovan McNabb, but with worse personality traits. And then that leaves us Kaepernick, who out next. I don't know if it's better with Kaepernick because from what we understand, he's not the smartest quarterback in the world. He worked well behind Harbaugh, but can somebody reproduce that magic that Harbaugh brought to Kaepernick?
Here's a thought also. A guy who played very well with this team is a guy named Nick Foles. He's a forgotten man in St. Louis. He's not coming back. You could get him, he's still on a rookie deal. You could get him for $1 million or a little bit more. If you bring in Foles as a second guy or even as a placeholder, we might do that. You draft a guy from Michigan State,
Connor Cook.
You bring a guy like Connor Cook in, just a solid guy who knows he might not evolve. He doesn't have a huge arm, but he might be an Aaron Rodgers in a couple years. So let me give you my thought. Here's my thought. So the bottom line is, I might bring Foles back if it's the only option. The thing about Kaepernick that scares me is not that he isn't that smart, but he's totally a detached guy. When everything was going wrong with the 49ers, he was a guy who was sitting in the corner, listening to headphones, listening to his stuff. Just the same way I wouldn't bring in Ryan Mallett, because that guy has some problems. It's rumored this guy, he couldn't set an alarm clock. The long snapper and the long snapper could make the flight. But a guy like that who seriously has personality problems and personal problems. So I believe RG3 is a cancer in the locker room, not only being skinny, injury prone, multiple ACLs, reconstructive knee surgery, not a big guy, kind of like a Michael Vick, a very brittle guy. I don't bring him in. Kaepernick, a guy who's very detached, not a leader. I don't bring him in. Who else is left? I would bring in Nick Foles. He's a good guy. We welcomed here. This guy worked his butt off. And you know what? In a more conventional offense, as a pocket passer, not doing a hurry up, I would be happy to welcome Nick Foles back to the.
And I think, and I agree with you. Actually, that's a really good point, Doc, that you made. Is because, and I didn't even think about that. I mean, he's been sitting on the bench for St. Louis. I mean, he pretty much might be out of a job because I don't know who else would pick him up. I mean, there is a couple people who are quarterback in need of a quarterback, and I don't think there's any team right now with a bigger market who's in need of a quarterback than we are. But
there's certainly
there's not teams that are really struggling at quarterback. You have the
I'm saying bigger market than us with the quarterback.
We have we're either between the fourth and sixth biggest market. We're a big market city here in Philly. Yeah. And in terms of our fans, our passion, we have to be near the top for sure.
Yeah, but you look at this team, Al, and the strength of this team is the defensive line. And you have Fletcher Cox, Benny Logan. You have a young nucleus there that you should spend money and you should keep. You have Michael Kendricks, who's shown during his tenure here that he can play linebacker and be very effective. You could keep DeMeco Ryans. You have Malcolm Jenkins, who's a star defensively, Nolan Carroll. You have guys – your strength of your team is your defensive line stopping –
I agree. Our defense is one of the only gleaming spots of hope we have right now.
So that's why, as a quarterback, I don't know if you should spend big money on a Drew Brees because I don't know if you're ready to win a championship yet. I don't know.
That's the thing is. It wasn't like, okay, well, Bradford was a bust and he had these great receivers to throw to because, I mean, he didn't. He had nobody. Our offense was just terrible. You had one of the greater running backs playing right now in the worst system he could possibly play in. And he was a hurry-up decision made by Chip Kelly because he thought we were getting Frank Gore, and then that didn't happen. And then, I don't know. I think part of it was like a big FU to Dallas to take their star running back. And, of course, there was a big paycheck for him. So I think the one person who's definitely good – or actually, there's a couple people probably dancing in the streets right now giving the Jeff Lurie the I told you so routine right now. But I think DeMarco Murray is probably going to want to stick. I thought after this game in New York – he would be gone. Maybe, and we talked about this at the game. Maybe we'll get a second-round pick back for him. Something worth a decent lineman, an offensive lineman to take. We don't know, but I think he'd stick around now just because there's a new coach coming in.
Well, let's talk about the money. I think we really have to talk about that. Number one, we're signing Fletcher Cox. So we need money to sign Fletcher Cox. We're going to be signing Benny Logan. Those guys are going to take up cap space. Michael Kendricks has been signed to a contract. Guys, we're going to be unloading. Kiko Alonso is definitely gone. He was on a rookie contract. Easy to go. You cut him. You don't lose any cap space. I think, guys, you got to get rid of. I believe that DeMarco Murray, they're going to find some way to get it back to Dallas, to have them pick up as much money as possible, a seventh-round pick. I believe he's gone, and whoever the new coach is. Byron Maxwell, a complete bust. Oh. If we can find a team that can take him off our hands, even if we have to throw a lot of money at him, he was terrible. Got to get rid of him. And Bradford, again, we're talking about a lot of money. Do they have the cap space here's the thing. They're going to be drafting O-linemen. Do they have the cap space to keep Bradford and still sign O-linemen, still sign Benny Logan and Fletcher Cox? I think not. Again, Drew Brees, too old. We're at least, in my view, 3 years away from truly competing. We have too many holes.
And that is why you shouldn't sign Sam Bradford, and you should ride with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal like Nick Foles for a couple of
to grow, make mistakes. We all be waiting for it. I mean, that kind of makes sense. And to kind of go back to what you asked me before.
Until we're ready. We're ready to spend money on a free agent in the NFL. That's my
well. You asked me earlier, would I have an old school quarterback or a defensive minded coach? And one thing I've always had issue with defensive-minded head coaches was, and I go back to like Lovie Smith and things like that. Like, they're too defensive-oriented. Like, they're guys who would start like a Rex Grossman or somebody like, and yeah, did he get lucky enough and go to a Super Bowl and all that? Yeah, that one time it worked out. Back, 20, 30 years ago, having just a great defense and an okay offense, you could get away with that. But this day and age, with the kind of arms they have out there, and then on top of it, being a defensive player has to be one of the especially a safety or secondary in the defense has to be one of the worst positions to be in because you're getting called for stuff that you can't control. I mean, it's really difficult nowadays. So to have just a purely defensive-minded coach, I don't think is the best idea.
Right. Well, devil's advocate, though, Al, is in the AFC, you have Tom Brady and the Patriots that are at the top, but the two other best teams in the AFC that we saw on Monday Night Football are the Bengals and the Broncos. The Broncos have 38-year-old Peyton Manning who could barely walk anymore, has to take HGH to get around.
I don't know that.
He's just
don't trust
well, I don't want to get into HGH, but Brock Osweiler is winning games. You look at the Bengals, Andy Dalton and A.J. McCarron. I mean, these teams don't have superior offenses. They have tremendous defenses. Seattle, great defense. Those teams can make you to the playoffs.
Seattle is Russell Wilson. Nothing more needs to be said.
Carson Palmer has a great defense.
All right, well, to go back to what you just said, Denver.
Yeah. Hey, how about Alex Smith also? Not a good quarterback, very good playoff team.
Well, that's also the thing of the division they're in.
We've run out of time. It's the top of the hour. It's 12 midnight. Can't thank everybody enough. Want to thank, of course, Wesley Kibitsky. Want to thank Josh M. Want to thank Al Zafiri, Big Al from RamboRadio.com. We're going to be doing a lot of hangouts this year.
This was wildly successful.
We want to thank everybody who logged in. Please, we want to thank everybody who logged in to Bruce Grossinger Facebook, everybody who logged in to Fans Interference, everybody who downloads our podcast. Please like us on Facebook and Twitter. And we've got some big things coming up in the new year. And again, we have the heads roll today. It's a new start. Everybody, good night and good sports.